I now recognize the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Kostin, again for joining us today and picking up from where Chairman McCall, I think that I understand that you have indeed had a meeting with your counterpart, Attorney General Garland, recently, and that the DOJ is going to increase its support and send additional investigators to The Hague and to our embassy in Kyiv. So let me ask for you to describe the needs of your office, the Office of the Prosecutor General, going forward. What sort of forensic labs, equipment, and personnel does the office need so that you can continue to be effective? And how are other international partners assisting your efforts in filling capacity gaps that may remain so that you can get and do everything you need so that we can make sure that justice is had?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. We continue to receive all necessary technical support from the US government, which is needed to conduct proper investigation and documentation of the war crimes of this war of aggression. We are grateful for technical support from notebooks, cell phones, personal protective equipment, generators, power stations. You know, we have had very difficult winter, and for many times some of my offices were cut off energy, were cut off resources for several days. And we are grateful for supply of generators, which helped us to not only to run our offices, but also to proceed our work documenting and investigating war crimes. What we need now more, within the course of our investigations, we collect huge amounts of data that needs to be stored and analyzed, and it requires proper equipment and proper IT solutions. We are now, with the help of our partners in the United States, are in good contact with providers of the data, providers of IT solutions like Microsoft, like Palantir, who are granting us free access to their IT solutions. We need to analyze terabytes of photo, video, voice information to match them for a specific crime scene in order to not to lose any evidence that we have collected. Because it's not only us who are collecting evidences, they're also collected by people, they're also collected by non-governmental organizations, but civil society organizations. And I'm also especially grateful for your assistance to our NGOs and civil society organizations who are really helping us, not only with documenting of war crimes, but also helping us with the communications with witnesses and survivors. You know how sensitive it is in some dimensions. And I'm also grateful, and we will need more assistance, and I believe we will get it. We are now creating a coordination center for the victims, survivors, and witnesses of war crimes under the umbrella of the Office of Prosecutor General. We know that the interests of survivors and victims of this war should be our center of our attention and efforts.
Let me also ask, you know, I know that there are multiple efforts, including those at the ICC and the UN, that they contribute to building legitimacy for the establishment of a special hybrid tribunal on the crime of aggression. So how can the United States better support efforts to broaden the legitimacy of international legal mechanisms so that everybody is going after these crimes against humanity, like Putin and some other vicious individuals who are committing those crimes?
Thank you. I think that the establishment of special tribunal for the crime of aggression is an extremely important element of our web of accountability, because the crime of aggression, which is a leadership crime and which led to all other war crimes committed, should be prosecuted and punished on international level. We have our own investigation for the crime of aggression, but we can't reach Troika, including President of Russian Federation, because of his personal immunity. And we need international mechanism, which should have a broad support of all the countries who know that act of aggression was committed and who believe that act of aggression should be punished on international level. It's not only a war of Russia against Ukraine, it's a global war. I don't know any country which doesn't feel the consequences of this war of aggression in many layers, but everyone, this war touched every country in the world. This war touched any citizen, any person in the world. Even if some of them don't understand this now, they will understand this in the future. And it's our joint responsibility, not only before the victims and survivors of this war of aggression, to ensure their measure of justice for the crime of aggression committed by Russians. It's also our obligation before future generations, because you're absolutely right, both of you, that Nuremberg trials ensured long-lasting peace in Europe for decades. Now we have a gap in international system of law and order. We need to fill in this gap and to ensure long-lasting peace for Europe and for global level after this war. And proper international tribunal for the crime of aggression will also play a deterrent factor for any future aggressor who could try to become an aggressor in any part of the world. And I would also add, it's not only our obligation before the victims and survivors of this war, not only our common obligation before the future generations, it's our obligation commemorating all victims of the previous wars and conflicts who didn't receive their measure of justice. We don't need to forget about them. And only united, we will reach this goal. I firmly believe in it. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much.
Very, very powerful. I remember visiting with a Ukrainian soldier last time I was in Ukraine. He said, "We're fighting for you. We're fighting for the free world." And they are.